Oh, good morning. I know everybody is this morning. It is the afternoon. It's not the morning at all. Um, I've just finished the weekly reading, so I thought I'd get on before I have a nice quiet afternoon and get into a bit of self work. I've got a few things I want to do. Um, no more procrastination, as they say. There was a few things I wanted to do this morning. So, or as I said, it's not the morning either, is it? But we'll go with the animal spirit first while I wait for some people to come on board and have a look. I'm hoping that the bell goes off today because people keep saying they don't get the bell, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm sure you'll start coming in soon. Animal spirit. Oh, my necklace is skew-iff here. Yeah, let's just pull that round. Alrighty. Animal spirit. Okay, I'm going to pull another one because we've had the fish before. So I'm going to pull another one. Hey, Joanne. Hi, Hayley. How you going? You got the bell. Good. Oh, there you go. Everybody got the bell today. Excellent. It must be when it's not so busy or something. How are you, Lenore? Hi, Darcy. How you going? Hey, Teresa. I had a few things I want to do with you today. So I've got everything in front of me. I've got a little package of things. I just went to pull an animal spirit and I got the fish again. And I thought, I'm going to pull a second one. Oh, how interesting. Okay, maybe there was a reason I got the fish because then I got the starfish. So let's have a look. So both water signs. And they're a downy one, not an uppy one. There we are. How is everyone today? You heard me ring too. Hey, Joanne, how you going? New house this week. Ooh, that sounds like fun. Hey, Jess, how you going? Wow, we got a lot of people on today already. Okay, now let me just find the fish. So I know the fish is a creature that goes with the flow. So it's very much about not controlling. And then the starfish, incidentally, is right behind that. So let's just look at both of these and then we'll get into some other stuff that I've got here. All right, the fish. So this is about restlessness, change of focus, and lost in the current. The fish loves to be subsumed in life's current. Nothing pleases it more than movement, movement, and more movement. The roaming lifestyle of the fish may be exhilarating for a while, but usually leads to weariness and slippery relationships. With all the possibilities out there in the vast waters, the fish becomes lost without clear goals and intentions. Spend some time with the lunar forces, dear fish, as the peace and calm of the moon will soothe your soul. So maybe some of you are feeling a little bit sort of anxious. Yeah, everybody got the bell today. Maybe some of you are feeling a bit anxious and it's just sort of telling you to sort of chill out a little bit. Behind that, the starfish. So this is about beautiful, alluring, superficial, or shallow. The starfish is a natural and exquisite beauty, mesmerizing to all. Being around someone with starfish energy is a thrill, like you've been put under a spell of divinity itself. The problem is these creatures have been reliant on how they look and what other people think of them for so long that they may have forgotten their deeper callings. When this card appears, it's important to ask, am I being swayed by outward appearances? What dreams have I put aside to please others? Well, both those cards together say to me that for some of you, maybe you're sort of getting a little bit antsy at the moment because you're sort of not following your path or not going in the direction that's meant for you. So it could be at the moment that you're feeling a little bit sort of like you can't get things done because of what's going on. So just, hi, SS, how are you going? Just remember, it's okay to chill. You don't have to always get everything done yesterday. You don't have to be that antsy and upset about not being able to do things. And I would imagine lots of people are like that at the moment. So yeah, it's time to chill out and just enjoy your time. I wanted to read you because I was talking about this book the other day and it's called Signposts, and I bought it many years ago. I think it's probably be over 10 years ago, I would imagine. Yeah, 2008. And it's sort of about the different signs we see on our path and what they actually mean. So, sometimes you see an animal or a creature or something on your path and you're like, okay, I see that that's, some sort of spirit message coming through, but what does it mean? And many of us just sort of take it as being a sign from spirit, but we may not know what the sign means. I think I talked about on here. Yeah, go in, Nikki. If you want to ask me something, please do. I talked about one time we went overseas and all we wanted to see was a hummingbird because we don't have them in Australia. And we'd gone to Singapore and they had the hummingbird enclosure closed down. And my daughter was so disappointed. And when we got to San Francisco, we went up. We had a look at the houses in San Francisco that are in Full House. I don't know if you all remembered the coloured houses in a row. My daughter wanted to go and see them. So we went and had a look. How are you, Jules? Anyway, we were standing there and we could hear this little noise and we look around and there's this little tiny hummingbird right next to us. Couldn't have been any more obvious. It was the most beautiful thing. I think both of us got really emotional because this was what she wanted to see. And there it was. And it came to us on the pathway near a brick wall in San Francisco. So I always think, those are signs you're waiting to see. How are you, Melanie? It was really cool, Hayley. It was really cool. Anyway, I wanted to read you this because sometimes people sort of talk about, you've got two paths to follow, and be careful, don't pick the wrong path. And I have a great sense of you can't pick the wrong path. If you pick a path that's not the right one or the one that's right for you, then you'll learn a lesson and you'll be sent down the right one. So it doesn't matter what happens, you can't pick a wrong path. And I always think people say, you be careful, you might pick the wrong path. It doesn't happen. There's only lessons. Remember, I always say there's only lessons. In her book here, she says there are no wrong choices. There may be times in your life when all the signs. Let's start that one again. I haven't had a drink, I promise. There may be times in your life when all the signs are pointing you in one direction, yet your desires or your intuition is pointing you another way. There are never any wrong choices, for every choice in life allows you to grow and expand as a human being. Choose the direction that is kindest to you, even if it means that it seems that you are not following the signs. And I think that's really important because sometimes I think we get this idea that we're going to go off on the wrong track or pick the wrong way to go, or, hey, Susan, how you going? You caught me today. You got the bell. And we sort of have this fear that we're going to pick the wrong thing. And I always think, there's my iPad again. And we have an idea that we might pick the wrong way to go. And sometimes I think people will say to you, be careful. It's really hard to tell with that question, Nikki, but I'll come back to you in a moment. There's a lot of movement with divine masculine, divine feminine. So maybe we can talk just a little bit about it today because it seems to be everywhere at the moment. But timing is very fluid and it's really hard to tell. So if you're going to pick a path and you have two directions to go, I guess if you picked one of them and it wasn't right for you, you're going to get a lesson that's going to give you probably more information for you to travel down the other path. But you won't pick the wrong one. You can't pick the wrong one. It's all part of your destiny. So if you go down one way and it's not right, there was a lesson you needed to learn there first before you move down the other path. So I was going to pull. I just quickly with the twin flame things, because it is coming up a lot in the cards at the moment. So I do think there's movement, but I do think with the divine masculines, divine feminines, there's sort of this feeling at the moment that it is happening, but not in a particular time frame. But we can see the wave happening because it's coming up in all the readings, very much so. So if you're dealing with a twin, it's possible it could be close, but how close might be a little different to you to what it is to someone else. So make sure you're putting in your work, because I always think if you're putting in all your self-work and doing what you need to do, remember you're healing the other person. So go with that. Oh, I have two cards coming out here. Oracle cards. Clean it up and there's no place like home. Somebody say they just moved? That's right, Jules. You always agree with me. I don't know whether you just love me that much or whether you just we're just completely aligned with things because we always sort of seem to have exactly the same experiences. So it's really nice when you get that reassurance from people that they sort of see things the same way. I think sometimes, people sort of be careful, you might take the wrong path. I'm like, there is no wrong path. Yeah, see, you're probably still working on stuff, Nikki, so give it time. Once you start feeling like you've come to the point where you need to be, we do think the same. You'll be right. It'll happen. Okay, so clean it up. Now, says getting to the core of a situation, freedom from a burden, cleaning house, and sweeping away what is no longer needed. I like that. That's what we're doing with the self work. I had tremendous stuff happened yesterday, lots of movement yesterday for me doing some work. So I'm sure you're all experiencing the same things, these little epiphanies that sort of just keep going through. New house this week. That's what I said. This is clean it up. So it's not just cleaning your house. It's not just the physical stuff. This is about mentally clearing space for yourself. So ever feel so bogged down with emotional gunk that you can't think straight? Could you be surrounded by physical clutter in your home also? Too much work, overwhelmed, time to clean house. Every item out of place natters away at you. Every unresolved resentment, every comparison to others that leads to a sense of lack takes up energetic space. Every unpaid bill just adds up to an unnecessary feeling of being overwhelmed. Now is the time to free yourself by energetically cleaning house. Just do it. Make room for the miracles that are lining up for you. So I got a bit of a kick in the pants yesterday because of procrastination, which I think we all do, don't we? Like I'll do it later, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week, and then it's next month, next year. How are you, Sarah? Hope you're feeling well. Yeah, Hayley, I have been too. I think it's because we're home a lot at the moment too, so we're sort of quieter. And in reference to our conversation the other day before I read the other card, and I said to you about try, how sometimes we say we try, and try implies that we can't succeed. And that was the word Spirit said, succeed. So when you're asked for something in future, don't say, I will try, say, I will succeed, because that implies you're already there. You're cancer free. That's wonderful news. How wonderful. I know people know you on here and know you've been going on a little bit of a journey, Sarah, so that's beautiful. Absolutely. See, you've succeeded. How beautiful. No, but it must be really hard once you get to that point, Sarah. It must be really hard to readjust for a little while because it's a big weight off your shoulders now. Yeah. There you go. I will succeed. We all will. And succeed's a much better word to use because I was trying to work out what word to use instead of try. And I thought a lot of other words sort of do say the same thing. They don't really imply that you've succeeded. And I thought, why not say succeed? So instead of saying you'll try, say you'll succeed. Okay, no place like home, 50. I think it's funny, Lenore, we got 2 home cards here. Do you not think the same thing? Clean it up and no place like home. Do you think these readings might have been for you today? Okay. Yeah, it would be a weird place because it's been Phil, hey, how you going, Tiffany? I love you too. 3 radiation sessions to go. Wow, how cool's that? Yeah, weird place to be because your life would be full of that before. And now you've got to fill it up with other stuff. No place like home. This is about authenticity, coming home to yourself, feeling at home, arriving at a place where you just fit and being comfortable in your own skin. It is funny, Lenore. I'm sure it's for you today. Home feels safe and secure. It's a comfortable place to rest and create, a place that is known and you can call yours. This card signals that your ability to trust yourself. I'm trying to open the page, sorry. And feel at home in your own skin is beginning to solidify as you claim your dignity and integrity. Aspects of yourself no one can take away from you. You know who you are. You hold your head high, yet with neither pride nor humility. Instead, as you stand as the observer, there's my favorite word, seeing things through the eyes of your soul, this puts you in a position of power and strength. Authenticity is your home. You are safe here. It is the house of your spirit and spirit. So we're all reaching authenticity. This is shedding all that other stuff. Learning to see things through your soul rather than through your emotions and your past experiences. Very, very beautiful card to read today. Oh, there you go. That's a big one for you, Lenore. Oh, my heart goes out for you. That's tough stuff. Good luck with everything. Good luck with everything. Yeah, so I am listening to a lot of people who've gone on a lot of shifts in the last few days. So I think that there seems to be movement again in terms of, you know, understanding, gaining a greater understanding. I think we've seen some really strange things. Hey, Carolyn, how you going? You're welcome, Jess. I think that we are seeing so many different things in the world at the moment with everything that's going on, and I think it's teaching us so much. I was sort of reading things yesterday, and I thought how it is that we live in one big community. The world is one big community, but everybody still sort of sits around and does their own thing, which sort of makes me feel a bit weird sometimes. Um, you have all the countries all doing different things. One country saying, "Oh, we're going to go back to normal now." Somebody's going back to normal next week, and then someone else says, "Oh, no, we're not going back to normal until later on." Um, yeah, I know, Jules. It's a strange feeling, isn't it, to feel so comfortable with things as they are. The only thing is I keep looking at my shoes and boots and thinking I can't get out. I reckon it won't be long anyway. But I just think it's so weird how, as a world, we don't come together and say, well, we've got this sort of impending thing. Why don't we all get together and decide what approach we're all going to take rather than sort of going in a different direction. I think, why aren't we learning from each other? Why aren't we, deciding that a point in time is the best point for us to do things rather than rushing in and just deciding we'll all go out and do everything again? And I read something about the Spanish flu. So I think it was in 1920 something, and they sort of cleared it up a little bit, and then they sort of said to everybody, go back out. And of course, the second wave of the virus was much worse than the first wave, causing millions of deaths. And I think we never seem to learn, do we, as a big community from each other or from past experience. And it would be really good if everybody sort of got together. And I thought this is why these organisations were formed, to be able to give that advice to people in a way that was good for everybody. I realise that different countries have different resources, different ways of doing things. Yeah, I agree, Hayley. I absolutely agree. I think that, sometimes it would be really good to see everybody working together. Why aren't we all deciding that a particular date's right and we start to sort of phase it in? Maybe we say to one country, well, you go first, we'll see how you go, and then we'll make decisions based in what the outcomes are. Or, maybe you do this first and we'll have a go at that and see how that goes. But we don't. We don't. And we don't seem to really, I'm sure we're supposed to be. I'm sure we're supposed to be doing that and working together. But it sort of makes me feel like we're still in medieval times where everybody's fighting a different war. Like, it doesn't really seem like we're doing things as a collective. So this morning I was looking and I was thinking, for the most part, we're going to start moving to going back to some relaxation of the rules now. No, there's no collaboration at all. And I thought this is why we had world organizations set up to help us do that. And then I think I read one country who've still going to stay in lockdown till the end of July, and they're not starting to bring things back until after that. So they said September they're sending their children back to school, which is vastly different to Australia that's not really had a break. Kids have been still going to school the whole time. I think a lot of parents have chosen to keep their kids home. But I just thought it was quite interesting that, everybody has this different approach and nobody learns from each other. Do we do that as human beings? I don't think we do. If I have a problem or issue and I'm not really sure about it, and I want to bounce off someone, it's the first thing I do. I may not necessarily do what another person tells me they've done, but I'd certainly learn from that. I'd certainly take it on board and say, well, okay, I'm not willing to do this until, I've worked something out or I've looked at all the options. But it seems to be that it's that whole idea of money, capital, trying to drive the dollar home, as it were. But it's quite interesting. I'm just going back to some of these. Oh, Nikki, that's pretty tough. That's really hard. So I don't know what you do for work, but saving someone who's been shot sounds like a pretty tough job. Yeah, and I like this, Hayley. I like that I get to listen to your views and I take things on board, which is really awesome. Yeah, the mainstream won't follow without their sanction. Well, the biggest example that I guess is the US, because you have so many. I mean, we do in Australia too, don't get me wrong. Each state has their own representation, has their own minister. So they all have their own set of rules. But then there's some rules that cover the whole of Australia. But there's no consistency there either. So we've got a lot of states doing their own thing. And it's sort of really weird because some of the states have had more, I guess, infections and they're moving quicker, and other states are moving slowly. So I don't really know that we do it collectively either. And I wonder, like somewhere like New Zealand, which is only one prime minister, may work things very differently. Whereas, America's so big, so huge, and you have so much representation, so many different people running their states. And it must make it really difficult for everybody to sort of stay on the same page. Like if you're in a state next to you, like we are here, I can't visit my sister in Queensland, and I can drive, but I'm not allowed to drive more than 50 kilometres. No, in Queensland, I think they can't drive more than 50 kilometres. I think that's right. So, I mean, there are different sets of rules for each state. It's not even like we get together here as a country and make sure everybody's on the same page. Everybody has different ideas. One state will say the kids can't go back to school, and another state says, yeah, send them back now. We need them. We need their parents back at work. And I'm like, no, it shouldn't work like that. Yeah, see, the other day I went out with my daughter who needed to grab a few things, and the shops were packed, absolutely packed. And then a friend of mine wrote to me and said they've just got her to go back to work on Sunday, so all the clothing shops are opening again. So it's a very, very strange environment. Yeah, very rural state with lots of wide open spaces. So maybe, like if people are still careful, if people still do the social distance thing, maybe it will work for them. But I don't know that people are that sensible. People are very much about themselves. They're not really about the community. So they may not take that into consideration. But it's really interesting, isn't it? I did have a poem that I downloaded when I first started doing these. I thought I'd download a couple of poems for you. Yeah, 10 days in Adelaide. I think Western Australia hasn't had any new cases. ACT, you too, Sarah. Take care. Adelaide, Western Australia, ACT, no new cases. But I think it was only a couple in New South Wales too. So, I mean, overall, it's really good. But only takes one person. Only takes one person. So, if you haven't had any new cases, when do you start working out when to let other states in? And how do you know other states are going to conform the same way if there's not one set of rules for everybody? And I think that's the really hard part is, keeping everything consistent perhaps would help. See, no masks or gloves. Yeah. The thing is with masks and gloves, there's still this, how would you say? There's still this sort of contentious argument about whether gloves and masks help or not. people were posting things on Facebook where people were standing in lines in shopping queues and they'd taken their gloves off to use their phone and they had their gloves in their mouth. And I'm like, people don't get it. Or they're walking around in gloves doing the same thing with one set of gloves on, but yet walking really close to people. And I'm like, your gloves and your mask is not going to protect you if you're going to touch your face or not wash your hands, which is the most important thing. So it's really hard. I don't know what we're going to do in terms of bringing people back to normality. But it's quite interesting how everybody was just that was my, I suppose, my, I know. Then that was my sort of uh, conversation piece was really about how everybody's treating it so differently. And yet we've all got, similar information, and yet everybody's treating it differently. There's no sort of approaches that are similar, even across states, consciously, unconscious. I like that, Hayley. I like that a lot. It's really good. And I think that, we do become, see, big turnout. It was outdoors. And that shouldn't help either. You should still keep social distance. If you don't do anything else to protect yourself, those things they came up in the beginning with, washing your hands, not touching your face while you're out and about, because that is really bad, because we tend to scratch our eyes, scratch our noses, and that's where the virus gets in. Washing your hands and keeping your distance from people. They are the most important things to do. And I feel like for most of you, when you do get out and about again, just adhere to those rules. They may not completely protect you. I went to see, I had a doctor's appointment the other day and he did it on the phone, which was really cool. And then he just said to me, because I'm due for my flu shot, and he said to me, we'll just call you when we've got the appointment ready. And I said, I'll pick up the scripts while I'm there. So that was sort of fine for me. And apparently they only let 4 people into the building at the same time. So they're being very cautious. I was going to say I went to see my grandchildren a couple of weeks ago and I was, I don't know, being silly with them as I do. And one of the twins turned around and sneezed in my face, fully sneezed in my face. And my daughter was like, oh, Aiden, mummy's taught you to sleep, into your sleeve. But he was just preoccupied and just didn't think about it. When I was out the other day, people were just coughing. They weren't putting their hands over their face. I could hear them coughing. One guy sounded like he was going to cough his lungs up, and he's probably a smoker. I don't know. But he was making no precautions whatsoever to try and protect anyone else. He was just coughing out loud, just coughing everywhere. And I was like, I think people just get really sitting in their own world, in their own universe, and they don't really understand that they need to protect others as well. So we can all protect ourselves, but we still have this little bit of an obligation to make sure others are well looked after too in that regard. But it's certainly a very strange time, isn't it, for us, wanting to see things go back to normal, because it still feels a bit strange getting out there. I would like to sort of think we could, make changes in the world to really accommodate much better practices. It's a shame that even in this time that we are, still so vulnerable in the world. Yeah, you still have to line up for shopping here too, Susan, which is a bit difficult. There are certain times of the day where you can get in without having to be around too many people. But here in Australia, they've started delivering again. The only thing is with the deliveries, there's restriction on how much you can have delivered, but it's also hard to get some items still. I think because I laugh about the toilet paper. Who would have ever thought? I always have extra toilet paper. I just always make sure I do. And I was starting to get nervous about how much toilet paper I had because it was running down and I couldn't get any. Everywhere I went, it was already sold out. So it's a very, very strange way to be. But I think we sort of were on the back foot a little bit with people who overstocked and panic. Oh, you're not getting deliveries where you are, Jules. No, they've started delivering here in Wollongong. My daughter got her first shop yesterday. She gets her shopping delivered because she has 4 children. It's difficult for her to go out with the twins because they have autism. They're a bit predictable. We've lost them before. We managed to find them, which was good. and she's got a baby and she's got a 10-year-old. So it's really hard, even when I go shopping with all of them, that with even for the two of us to manage them. So she gets all her shopping delivered, and then her partner does the day-to-day shopping. But they are delivering here now, which is really good. I think they should have done that to start with. If it had been me, if I'd have been in charge, I would have done that right from the beginning. Instead of investing in people to do different things, I'd have got people in trucks and I'd have got them doing all the deliveries and stopped everybody from going in the shops. But, at the end of the day, they've done a good job. We still don't have a huge amount of infections here. So overall, I guess the government's done well to do what they've done. But anyway, so what are we up to? I've been on for half an hour. Has anybody got anything they want to talk about today? I'm trying to think, because I know that there were a couple of things I did have to talk about. And I know I was looking in the book here this morning about different signs so that I could have a look at what signs mean. Things you see in the streets and whatever else. It's a really cool little book. Because it even has things like, a red cross or a star or something like that. So it's really, really cool little book. But I don't have anything else to share with you today. It's not that I don't have anything to talk about. So if you've got something to talk about, put it up there. I'm quite happy to sit and chat for longer. Oh, the poem. That's what I was doing. How funny. I did say something about a poem. I have two poems. So I have a romantic poem and a poem written by Maya Angelou. We'll do the romantic one. Yeah, the animals. Somebody put a beautiful clip up on Facebook of all the animals going into the streets and things, like kangaroos going down the main streets of Adelaide, and because they're not frightened away by anybody at the moment because nobody's around. So there were some really cool ones there, like bears walking down like streets and elephants just walking down streets. So yeah, it was really interesting. I had these poems printed out when I first started doing this. This one is absolutely beautiful, but it's a pretty potent poem. Dolphins in Venice, yeah. Yeah, some places where they've not seen animals for a long time. I guess the animals would be frightened off by human beings. I'm going to read this because this is my favourite poem, and I thought it's a really old one and everybody will know this, but I'm going to read it, by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And it's called How Do I Love Thee? How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight, for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love with a passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all of my life, and if God choose, I shall love thee better after death. It's beautiful, isn't it? Okay, I can put that away now. I always think it's such a beautiful poem. Some of those old poems are just amazing, and one of my favourite poems, I don't know if anybody's read it, is The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and it's very long. I couldn't read it on here. It would take forever, but it's just absolutely beautiful. And the other one I had here is by Maya Angelou. And I have a couple of poems I think are very, very powerful. So I'm going to read this. Oh, hi, Jishi. How are you going? And this is called Still I Rise. So I think most of you know who Maya Angelou was. But I'll read this one for you. Very powerful, though. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may tread me in the dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. How's that? Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that one, Darcy. I actually read that not so long ago, but that one's really powerful. That one's really powerful. I love that. It is. It's a beautiful, powerful poem. There's an Aboriginal woman that wrote some amazing poems here. I can't remember exactly how to say her name, but I'll see if I can find a poem she talks about to do with racism. And it's really cool poem. So I'll try and find that one for next time. Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it? But you can imagine, I mean, she was a pretty powerful woman in the things she said. Like she was really way ahead of her time, really. So, alrighty. Well, I might call it a day. I might go off and I shall see you tomorrow. Back to work, of course, back to the grind. And we'll talk tomorrow. I'll see if I can find something interesting to talk about tomorrow. I'm sure I'll find something. All right. Take care, everyone. If you want to send me something to talk about, more than happy to chat about it. Take care. Much love. Mwah.